Good afternoon. We're continuing with the February 3rd, 2026 council meeting. Agenda item 4 is a public hearing on a resolution to approve additions to the Office of Zoning and Administrative Hearings comprehensive fee schedule. Council action is scheduled immediately following this hearing when the council sits as the district council. There are no registered speakers for this hearing. This public hearing is now closed. See, that was quick. The council will now sit as the district council for action on a resolution to approve additions to the Office of Zoning and Administrative Hearings comprehensive fee schedule. I will entertain a motion to approve the resolution to approve the OZA fee schedule additions.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Don Lukey.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Sarah Evans. Those in favor, please raise your hand. It passed unanimously by those who are here right now. Our final item for the agenda is the most exciting today. No, not really today. We have something more exciting this morning. We are going to talk about a briefing on the county's winter storm snow operations. I decided to schedule this meeting last week, thinking in my head, oh, the schools are going to be open on Monday. Let's just do it on Tuesday. Little did I know that that did not happen. But I'm very grateful and glad that our children are back today in the school system. I also do realize that this particular winter snow was really challenging, and we're going to get into that. We have with us today members of the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. We have the Department of Transportation. We have the Department of General Services. We have Montgomery County Public Schools, and we have Montgomery Parks here today. Each one of them has its own snow operations. I will argue at some point you'll need to talk to each other and coordinate better. As time goes by, there's something that I think everybody in this place understands, that climate change is real, and extreme rains and storms are going to happen more often, and it is up to us to be ready. The way that we're going to be doing this session today is actually pretty interesting. I know we are short in time because we have a committee work session later today in the afternoon, and I know each one of us would like to ask the question. So I scheduled this in 2 parts. The first part is going to be a presentation by county government, MCPS, and also Montgomery Parks. And after that, I'm going to have a series of questions for you all. And then after that, I'm going to open it up to colleagues to ask the question. Each one of us is going to have 3 minutes to ask the question and get the answer, which means the question needs to be straight to the point, and the answer also needs to be straight to the point. Otherwise, we're not going to make this on time. If there is time, we can do a second round. I doubt it, but I'm just saying that I'm open to that if time permits. With that, I'm going to ask perhaps Mr. Rich Madaleno to kick us off. And go ahead. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much, Madam President, Madam Vice President, members of the County Council. My name is Rich Madaleno. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer for the county government. As you heard, we're joined today by a variety of leaders within our county government to talk to you a little bit about what happened. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity, because it's an excellent opportunity to start by saying thank you to all of the county government employees, state employees, school system employees, parks, private contractors, individuals who helped our response to this unprecedented storm. You're going to hear a little bit about the weather. You talked about climate change. You're going to hear a little bit about what this foretells for the future and how we need to be thinking about it. I also want to say thank you to our residents for their patience and kindness during this whole storm. Many of them were so kind to our employees, offering them coffee, breaks, appreciation. We greatly appreciate that. And apologies to all of our residents who felt let down, misinformed by what happened during the storm. Just like the water system, where cold weather can reveal a crack, which leads to a leak and a broken pipe, this certainly led to some surprising outcomes, and systems that we thought were working did not work as planned. the snow tracker, some of the transfer of information from 311 to the Department of Transportation. Since we're still in the middle of this, we don't have answers necessarily to all your questions, but I can tell you that the county executive demands us to get to the bottom of all of these stories, to understand what happened and to make sure they don't happen again. So we will be doing an after action report, as we always do, about this storm. After every season, we sit down and go through the whole plan and try to figure out what have we learned this winter and how does that inform for what we're going through. So we take that very seriously. So again, thank you for this opportunity. I'm going to turn it over to Matt Mazurko. Matt works for OEMHS, and he is, amongst other things, our lead meteorologist for these sorts of events. He has a few brief slides he's going to go through to explain what happened.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Mr. Mandolino said, I'm Matt Mazurka. I'm an emergency management specialist. This will be a real brief overview for time here. So our 2026 winter storm summary in January, if we can transition to the next slide. The bottom line is our good snowstorms, our big snowstorms and ice storms have three key ingredients, which we saw last week: a lot of cold air, a lot of lift, a lot of moisture. The weather map that you see was from Sunday morning across the entire nation as the storm was beginning. And if you look where Kentucky and Tennessee was, there was a really powerful storm brewing down to our south, throwing a lot of moisture into that Arctic air mass that's illustrated by that high pressure really across the U.S.-Canadian border. So all the ingredients were there for a big event. Whenever we see storms move to our west and towards Pittsburgh or West Virginia, that's really a classic setup for sleet and freezing rain. And our cold ground temperatures that we had in the days leading up to that allowed for rapid accumulation. So as soon as it snowed, as soon as it sleeted, it was sticking even on our interstate highway systems. Unfortunately, for part of the event, temperatures were really very cold for most of our road treatments. And as we look at our next slide here, this is a really good illustration of what we were facing at. The atmosphere likes to be stable. That's either rain and it's really nice and warm, or it's snow and it's really nice and cold. We started as snow, but some warm air moved in aloft and changed things over to sleet. Normally, the warm air would win over, we would go to rain, the roads would kind of take care of themselves, rain would wash everything away, but we had such a fresh, anomalous Arctic air mass in place. That's why it was sleeting at 15 degrees. There was just a replenishment of that cold air. Freezing rain and sleet are a self-destructive process. It's a sign that warm air wants to win out. This is that 1 time out of 10 that didn't happen. On our next slide, a big question we've been seeing is, how much snow fell? It was about 6 to 10 inches of snow across the county with snow and sleet. If we melted that down, it would be the equivalent of about 2 inches of liquid. We saw that with the airports that have heated rain gauges at Dulles and Reagan and BWI. If that was all snow, that would have been about 20 inches of snow, and that would have qualified somewhere in that top 10 snowfall for the region. If you go back in the 100, 200 years of snowfall records for this area, 20 inches plus is when we start getting to those rarefied snowstorms. So had this been all snow, it would have been pretty impactful too. This is our statewide weather mesonet. These are the snow and sleet readings that we saw right when the storm was ending up. There were some 10 and 11 inch readings in Clarksburg, but this goes to show you it wasn't just Montgomery County. A good portion of northern and central Maryland also saw significant snow as well. So to our next slide here, this is really what kind of complicated things. Why was it so cold afterwards? We had a really uncommon air mass for this region. This is a backwards trajectory model. What this shows is where did our air come from? And so I centered it over Gaithersburg. If you look at that green line, that goes all the way back over to Russia and the North Pole. So we had a weather pattern that took many, many days to establish itself, and it's going to take many, many days to actually start breaking down. There's always a chance that as these weather patterns break down, you get one last snowstorm before we kind of break into the spring. We're getting more sun angle. We're getting more minutes of sun every day. So that's a good thing. We're working towards spring, but that's about what we have for our overview.
So, Madam President, with 7,800 lane miles of roads across Montgomery County, our Department of Transportation is responsible for more than 5,400, the state almost 1,500, and our municipal partners almost 800, with Park and Planning responsible for probably another 50. We have tried to answer all of your questions in our presentation, so as you go through, you might see that we've touched on some of them. So I'm just trying to make sure you understand that we greatly appreciated those in advance, and hopefully we will get through many of them so that you don't necessarily even have to go over them again. So with that, I'll turn it over to David Dice, our director at the Department of General Services.
So this will be real quick because I know a lot of interest is on roads and sidewalks and things like that. But just to give you an idea of how the county responds to snow events such as this, we talked to you about how we address our facilities. I'm David Dice, Director of the Montgomery County Department of General Services. We activated when OEMS activated at 8 o'clock on Saturday the 24th. We finally deactivated 3 days later, 3.5 days later at 5 p.m. on the 27th. That included the initial response as well as a reactivation to address snow melt. And snow melt is something that's still going today. Sun's shining, snow's melting, it's going to refreeze. We'll be back out there early in the morning to make sure the public buildings are accessible. So this, as long as this is melting, it's still going on. DGS staff reported, I have a staff that reports to the Emergency Operations Center during a partial activation. And that includes folks from my office as well as my fleet maintenance as well as facilities. And they're the ones that are coordinating across divisions within DGS in the response, as well as with DOT, with OEMHS, and with public safety. Public safety facilities are always our number one priority. We hit those first, followed by other essential health facilities, and then recreation and libraries. Before the event was coming, we knew it was coming, so we ensured that all emergency generators, fuel tanks were topped off. We brought in all necessary assets and supplies on Friday before to make sure that we staff, because we know from experience, I've been doing this for a long time, once you're in the place, you're going to stay in place until it's over. So we wanted to make sure there was enough food, there were cots, there were supplies, and people, staff, so that no one individual is overworking themselves. That's when mistakes are made. That's when injuries occur. One of the things we did, knowing what was coming and knowing that we have these facilities, we coordinated with DOT, and now that we've got photovoltaic panels over a lot of parking lots, we encourage departments that have vehicles on surface lots to get them under cover. This improved our ability to clean public facility surface lots much more rapidly than we've been able to in the past, which is a real positive achievement this year. To get those vehicles out of the way instead of having them get stuck in the snow and the ice that occurred. I have 45 facility staff here in the Rockville Court all over the county. They worked for 52 hours straight with periodic breaks. These are the folks that are actually out with shovels clearing sidewalks, because we knew what was going to happen. If it was sleet, it would be even more difficult to remove. So we were working throughout the storm, clearing sidewalks, and have contractors clearing parking lots. This occurred at 231 county sites. We have them all prioritized and listed. We know which ones to hit. We had 6 contractors working with 82 pieces of equipment, which included salt spreaders and plows, as well as other pieces to clear sidewalks. 55 sidewalk crews out there spread across the county, and we were operating out of DOT salt domes. Later in the week, at MCPS's request, they contacted us saying they're having a hard time getting all the sites necessary. So on Thursday, having completed our work, we directed a couple of our contractors over to MCPS to help them. While all of this is going on at county facilities, we also are supporting DOT Highway Services in their response to plowing. So DGS Fleet, I brought in 26 heavy equipment mechanics along with welders and parts technicians, because you don't think about this stuff happening in the response to emergency. As I always say, if it moves, it breaks. And so we expect this to happen. The welders did their thing. The heavy equipment mechanics did theirs. They worked for 24/7 for 5 straight days. Attending equipment, Chris is going to give you a list of the equipment that they were using. All of that stuff had to be maintained and equipped. Just as a summary, those guys were reinstalling ripped off mud flaps, replacing hydraulic hoses and repairing hydraulic leaks, flat tires caused by tire chains. Tire chains are great, a lot of road, wear out the tires. We were retrieving and towing both trucks and ride-on buses that were stuck in snow banks, replacing snow plow cutting edges. As those plows are running along the streets, they tear, they break off. We actually made sure before the event that we were stocked with all those replacement parts. The object is to get the vehicle into the shop and out of the shop and back on the road. No one of those vehicles was in our shop for repair for over an hour. So they were back on the road helping out what we could do. The outcome of this is that all county facilities were ready to be open and for business by Tuesday morning. Really proud of the DGS crew for doing that. So with that, I will turn it over to my colleague.
And now for the biggest component of the snow response, we're going to go through DOT's reaction to this and all the actions that have taken place. So go ahead and advance. Our preparation for this starts in the fall. Every year we have an annual exercise, training, a mock snow event where all the computer systems, response systems, personnel issues are all reviewed, and we get ready for the snow season. We invite regional partners to participate in that. So that's the beginning of the preparation for this. It's not just before the storm. During the week of the storm, we became aware of the impending storm on Monday. We began our internal preparations for crew assignments and equipment availability. On Thursday, we began operations. So we have been now operating for the storm for 13 straight days. We pre-treated all of the primary roads on Thursday. On Friday, we began the public information campaign, and many of you participated in that, to advise our residents that this was likely to be a long-term dig-out event. Saturday, we pre-treated all residential roads, which is not a normal component of our storm plan, but given the intensity of this storm, we did additional preparation work. You wish you could prepare so much as that it doesn't happen, but that's not possible. And the bulk of the work happens after the snow starts. So Saturday at 6 p.m., we declared a snow emergency, which has various provisions in it, which is moderately to maybe even unhelpful. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And then I activated our crews at 9 p.m. Sunday, about 5 hours before the weather actually started. During this, again, snow emergency, 21 free parking garages during the duration of the storm, on-street parking restrictions throughout residential neighborhoods and on snow emergency routes, and a taxi surcharge are in place. During the event, we're responsible for about 5,400 of those lane miles, about 2/3 of the road network in the county. We had 500 pieces of equipment on road duty. We had another 126 pieces of equipment on sidewalk duty. We were active, as I mentioned, for about 240 consecutive hours of snow operations here. Around 600 people deployed on this. Roughly half of that is county staff and roughly half of that is contractors. During this event, we've cleared 100 miles of sidewalk, over 800 bus stops, and we're working towards 1,000. The 21 parking garages were kept operational, as those are places people's cars are that they aren't normally at home. And we've handled over 10,000 311 service requests. During the response phase for this storm, and we have two elements of our response phase. One is systematic, where we know exactly what we need to do, and that's what we focus on. During the event itself, we're focused on emergency response, working with David's crews to make sure fire stations and other police facilities and places where emergency responders are coming from are accessible. We have crews stationed at those facilities to help emergency responders get to locations. We're then focused on keeping access to within a quarter mile of all houses in the county and on our primary road network. When the snow stops, we then transition to the residential street network. And we have 220 plow routes that we serve in that residential area, and we work on clearing all those out. We begin snow hauling in the central business districts. We begin the sidewalk operations and other planned scheduled activities. When we get to a point of completion, and many of you noted this in your questions, we then open up for service requests for responding to areas that were missed or need additional attention. That happened too early in that event, and that was a major source of frustration for our community. Plowing, this happened throughout the county, started around 4 a.m. on Sunday, and it's not plowing now, it's hauling, but has continued through while we sit here today. So 13 straight days of this activity have been underway by the county. Snow hauling, in most events, this is only in our central business districts, so Bethesda, Wheaton, Silver Spring, Germantown, and Clarksburg. In this event, we are also hauling on all major county roads where we're doing sidewalk clearing and attempting not to, where we had done sidewalk clearing, and as we widen those roads out to their full width, we're attempting not to rebury sidewalks So, for example, earlier this week, I think I've lost track of time, Monday, I was on Post Oak Road in North Potomac, and we were snow hauling on residential streets because there's just too much snow to place on the side. Monitoring progress, again, we follow all 220 plow routes. This is internal use only. We do not publish this information. There is no public snow map showing that your street was cleared. There are a lot of reports that the map said my street was cleared. It may have said the service district was cleared. That was not accurate, and I'll describe the source of that later. And then a direct interface with 311 that opens up when that work is complete. And the public information, another issue that we're going to identify as after action, is directly fed from this system to the public information, and we need to reinsert a human in that and not have it be computer to computer. Reporting, we did a lot of reporting. You saw too much of me on TV, too much of Emily on TV, trying to keep our residents informed of our status, trying to give advice on how to deal with the snow that they were experiencing at their own location. This is just to give a picture of the type of input we were getting through the service requests. The spike was around 515 service requests in 1 hour. And obviously that was impossible for 311 to manage. And you noted some of the long wait times. We tried to get people to switch to the online intake form because the 311 operator is using the online intake form to take the resident's request and get it into the service request system. You can see how that spiked on Wednesday, the day people really had that expectation that they would be able to move about. That expectation was partially met. We were probably 80 to 85, 90% clear on Wednesday, but that still means there are a lot of people who didn't have access to the road network. And then you can see how that tailed off through the remainder of the week to low levels of activity over the weekend, and those low levels of activity are continuing yesterday and today. Challenges, deep snow and ice pack, equipment failures. None of these were catastrophic, but nonetheless, when the equipment fails, it has to go in and get fixed. The data quality going into our snow management system, Snow IQ, was not sufficient to guide our operational response. We know why that is. There are issues with not completing routes due to equipment failure, blocked streets, and some human error in inputting routes being complete when they're not. That led to the premature transition from systemic to service request service and opened up 311 too early for our service requests. And the service requests that were received before that were closed without explanation, which is we need to just address the explanation. We still need to close that because we cannot take service requests before we're done processing the plow routes because they're going to get plowed anyway, and then we'll have a backlog that we won't know how to address and sort through. We have a lot of duplicative and distracting service requests, and we have about 15 streams of input for service requests, which make it hard to align all of those service requests and understand what's done and not done. And then challenges, it's unavoidable that we're going to replow snow across people's driveways, onto sidewalks, and against parked cars. It's just simply not possible. The snow has to go to the side of the road. There's nowhere else for it to go. We struggled. I think we tried, but the message may not have been understood. What passable means, it means like the picture on the right, it's snow covered, but you can drive on that road if you need to. It's not clear. It's not ideal. It doesn't meet a lot of needs, but it can allow you to travel out of your home. We do not get to pavement, and we have a lot of confusion in service requests about who's responsible for what. Council President, your point exactly. We understand that, but it's very difficult for the average member of the public to understand that. And I think I missed at the beginning of this. We'll go to the last slide. Some of the things that we're looking to do, there's more. We covered that. Adjustments, more person-to-person communication. In 2016, there were phone calls, and we were all used to phone calls, council staff, senior county management, and others, to understand status. We've gone to too much electronic versions of that, too much written, too much social media. We need to go back to having direct conversations about the snow status among elected officials and those responding. We need to clean up the data entry process for the residential street clearing and get rid of those false reports of completed routes. We need to have better integration between 311 and Snow IQ so that people understand why their service request was closed, and just not that it was closed without the issue they reported getting addressed right in front of them. We had a few issues with road inventory that they're our roads, but they weren't listed in the GIS inventory. We need to clean that up. There are a number of issues in the county code that are out of step with current life. Things like Sunday not being a snow emergency day in the county code, that doesn't help us when the snow occurs on Sunday. We need to go through and clean all that up. We recognize those as we started to try to implement those items. And the part of this I missed was the magnitude of this event. There's a huge amount of snow and ice, 3 million tons. It's 125 maximum weight semi-trailers worth of snow, 125,000 that fell on streets in the county that these agencies had to move. Much of that was done in 2.5 to 3 days. It's an incredible accomplishment. We could not have done that without the dedication of county employees. They stayed at this, they grinded through, it's brute force, it's ugly, it's big, and it had to be done. We did our best to keep them from the negative commentary, but it does affect morale and ability to respond. They're at it still. We've been working closely to get the school issues cleared so that schools could reopen, and we've done a lot with interaction with the municipalities, the State Highway Administration, and other agencies, not strictly within the county DOT's purview, but we've taken that on to try to get all of these issues addressed so that the full functioning of the county could come back together. I normally say I'm happy to be here and answer your questions. That is true today. I am happy to be here. I want to answer the questions. It was a big event. 95% of our activity went well and as planned. The major issue we had was with electronic communications from system to system without human intervention before that got to the public, making them think something was done when it wasn't done. And we know what we need to do to fix that going forward. So thank you for the opportunity to answer your other questions today.
Thank you. We're going to proceed with MCPS. I have comments and questions, but I'm going to hold them. MCPS, Mr. Adnan Mamoon, can you please go ahead?
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Adnan Mamoon. I'm the Chief of Operations from Montgomery County Public Schools. I do want to begin by thanking the partners that we've had throughout this event with MCDOT and DGS. As Director Dice and Director Conklin has already talked about, we did reach out to the county partners, and they have been very helpful in helping us through this process. As everybody has already talked about, this has been a very, very complicated storm. We have, experienced the significant amount of snowfall, the refreezing conditions, and the repeated plowing that, Director Conklin already said that was unavoidable, which again, reburied sidewalks and entrances after they were already cleared. Throughout all of this, we remain focused on the safety of our employees as well as our students. So we started our operations. Obviously, we've been meeting throughout the week. Last week before the storm started, our operations started at 6 a.m. Sunday morning. We did set up hotel rooms for some of our maintenance folks that helped, started clearing our school sites at 6 a.m. Sunday morning. And we wanted to make sure that they had access to, so that they didn't have to travel back and forth to home. So we set up the hotel rooms for them. They started out at 6 a.m. And remained deployed throughout the week. And we had to, and then building services staff was brought in on Monday after we determined it was safe for them to, get on the roads to get to our schools. And we started immediately clearing all of our sidewalks at 237 school and office buildings. And again, many of the cases we had to, clear and then re-clear as, folks were, cleaning up their snows. We also experienced equipment strain, which has already been discussed already because of the cold as well as the amount of use that we were getting. And so we had some breakdowns due to the sustained nature of the operation, but we continued to, rotate teams and resources and making progress at every site. We relied heavily on contractors. About 90 of our schools were, we utilized contractors to clean up 90 plus of our schools. However, as you heard, they were also busy with, cleaning up the state roads and county roads. So we just, had to continue to work with them. And then when we reached out to DGS, we were, able to access more contractors. And then from our transportation department, we staffed all our 5 depots daily, cleared the lots and the buses, and conducted road checks, which allowed us to kind of create the list where we were seeing concerns. And we've been sharing that list with Director Conklin's team, and they've been helping us with that. But ultimately, the neighborhood, road and sidewalk conditions were what, helped us determine whether we were going to open schools or not, because about 1 in 5 of our students walk to schools, as well as many others depend on access to sidewalks and areas where they can, stand and wait for the buses to pick them up. So because of, the sidewalks clearing, was not enforced, we had to, depend on that to make sure that we were making the calls on when we were able to open our schools. We were operating today, and as anticipated, we have encountered some challenges, both with walkers navigating icy or uncleared sidewalks and with buses maneuvering through neighborhoods. And our Department of Transportation is tracking these issues in real time, and we'll continue to coordinating with our sister agencies on this. During closures, we also ensured one of the things we did is as early as possible, we opened up 9 of our sites to start serving foods. So on Wednesday, we had 9 schools that were open for food distribution. And then on Friday, we had a total of 16 sites that were available for food distributions. The count is not finalized yet. We served north of 47,000 meals throughout last week to the families. And then again, we talked about, our teams are, continuously working, and we're going to continue to collaborate with MCDOT as we see any conditions that, have issues with, our transportation as well as our walkers, and we'll continue to collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Figueredo from Parks.
Thank you so much. Mitty Figueredo, Montgomery Parks Director. Our role here is certainly a little bit more limited than Director Conklin's, but I'm happy to be here to talk to you about what we do during a storm like this one to keep our parks accessible and safe and our park roads and sidewalks. Each year before the season starts, we update our weather emergency guide and we assign a snow commander for that season. This year, our snow commander is Todd Holmes. He's right over here. He is our regional operations manager in the Southern Division. And from the moment the snow emergency is declared in the first place to when it closes out, he is in charge of making sure that all of our resources are being deployed effectively. And this is a multi-divisional effort. We have our northern region, our southern region. Our southern region has the biggest lift. It's the most urban region, and it's got all 3 of our parkways in it. But again, multiple divisions participate in this. And as one division or one management area wraps up their priority list, they're redeployed to work on others. We also have our facilities management, fleet management team is on call with mechanics during the entire stretch of the emergency. Again, as these folks were saying, making sure that our equipment is in a state of good repair and is fixed as things break. Inevitably, it happens. They also, in advance of the storm, are checking the equipment and checking also importantly and calibrating our equipment for salt spreading and spreading the de-icing liquid. And of course, our public information team is updating the public on park closures, facility closures, delays, etc. And finally, of course, our park police are out there during the storm, making sure that everyone is safe and handling any emergencies as they come up. During the snow emergencies, we are staffed by park staff. We have about 130 staff who are on call during the snow emergency, divided into a couple of shifts. Each management area, and we have like 20 management areas that are participating in this, regularly report back up to the snow commander their progress on their priority list. And then once their areas have been completed, they're redeployed. We do prioritize our snow removal. We start out, of course, with clearing our parkways and our heavily traveled regional park roads. Also our parking lots that serve key facilities and sidewalks that connect to schools or are also heavily trafficked in urban areas. That's our priority 1. And then our second priority is making sure that our maintenance yards, any place where our staff muster, our facility entrances, internal service routes, all of those have to be cleared as well so that we can maintain operations during the storm. And we also, I should say, coordinate with other departments. We have a fleet of about a dozen trucks, and we deploy 3 of them along with drivers and staff to DOT to use during the snow emergency. And in return, we are able to load up on salt and de-icer at their depots. And then once the storm, we initiated our storm response on Saturday. We called in all of our staff who are going to be be working during the storm. They showed up at 6. The concern is that if we wait too long, then we can't get them out there because they're snowed in. And then I think we started shoveling. We started the actual removal around 1 or 2 in the morning, and we kept that up until we ended the snow emergency on Wednesday. Everyone reported back to work just as usual, but the work doesn't end there. We go back even after we've hit everything the first time, widening paths, treating ice that may have appeared. It is, as Director Conklin said, inevitable that sometimes, particularly in urban areas where the space is tight and there's not any place for snow to go, that we will clear a sidewalk and it will have snow on it again, and we will get a call, and sometimes it's 2-3 times. That is just, in the course of business, but that's what we do once the snow event is over. We're still out there working and clearing things up as well. So that's a run through of the Parks Department's snow management. Happy to take any questions as well.
Oh, we have lots of questions. Thank you so much, Director Figueredo. Before I open it up to colleagues, I would like to recognize members of the school board who are here. I see Ms. Rita Montoya and Laura Stewart. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I see our friends from WSSC who are also here, and I'm sure available in case anybody here has any questions. For colleagues, if you're going to speak, please indicate by pushing the little button that you have. And 2 very quick things that I don't expect you to answer this today, but as you analyze, as you have mentioned before, your snow operations into the future, and we get the report back, I want to highlight 3 things for you to study. One, I do think we need to think about how we can improve cooperation among agencies, parks, the schools, SHA, the county government, especially understanding that it feels like we're competing against for the same contractors too. So there has to be better coordination there in that aspect. So that's one thing that I expect in your report. The second thing is that it's not just about clearing the roads, it's making sure that the sidewalks are also clear. And many times, as you already know, you will come, you have the big trucks clearing the roads, and then all the snow will end up in the sidewalks that have been already cleared. And it's a problem, especially if you want to open up schools. Many of these kids, they're walking to the bus stops. They need those sidewalks. So I think we do need to do a better job prioritizing sidewalks and bus stops, including school bus stops that we tend to forget. They're not the same as the general shelters. So that's 2. And then the third thing, when it comes to communications, I think as a county, we need to do better reminding community members that, number one, we do have free garages, right? People can leave their cars in garages free of charge. And we must push them to do so, because otherwise, if they leave their cars on the street, we can't clean the streets with cars there. So I think there has to be a better way to push that effort, and maybe look into what other places across the nation have done to motivate people to leave their cars in garages so that the streets can be clear. And then at the same time, I'm just going to end it there because I know my colleagues want to, oh, yeah, I see that. I'm going to start with Council Vice President Marian Balcom. And as a reminder, each one of them has 3 minutes, and that includes the question and the answer. So please be straight to the point. The clock is right there. Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm surprised I hit the button quick. So we've all received lots of feedback, just like you have all received lots of feedback, and it kind of is in several buckets. One is just plow my road. Why haven't you plowed my road? And we know that you're getting to it. We know that you're getting around to it. But then the other 2 are, the miscommunication, the street tracker that was just a source, in 311 that was a source of a lot of frustration. And I think that communicating that the systems had issues could have been better, right? So because we were putting out, go to the tracker, put your road in, and we were setting up expectations that was going to get correct information. So I think that is certainly something that if there's a problem with the communication system, then we need to push that message out that there's a problem with that. And then also, I don't know if we're opening up a can of worms or not, but in terms of communication, if we all have, and other directors, other people in the government have the same message, we can often reach deeper into the community than you can, and just to get the message out. I try not to engage in the back and forth on social media, but it's a good time to get that message out. So I think that would be an idea to use our communities. And then the issue of who does what. I think that specifically has been the frustration now. So I'm going to stop talking and ask the question of, at what point did MCPS ask the county for help, and how did that interface go? Because I feel like there's a little bit of, wasn't us, right? And so I think that should be clear.
So can I say, Councilmember Balcom, I totally agree. The public does not want to hear or see finger pointing. It's all of our collective responsibility. I get that. I think, to me, the first communication from the school system formally, I'm sure there was lots of informal communications going on back and forth. We did get a list at 2:13 on Sunday afternoon of, here are problems that we've identified. And bam, we were on it. And said, give us more. Great, and they have been giving us more every day.
This Sunday, not the prior Sunday.
Yes, this Sunday. So, but we also, for example, we restarted trash and recycling service on Tuesday. All of those trucks are sensors, that go out, and we were getting lots of information fed back to DOT every day. Where are they finding problems? How are they moving? And, obviously the number of problems starting last Tuesday, and it's come down to just yesterday, they only found one problem county-wide, and the routes that they did on a Monday. So we're trying to do that. But you're right, we've got to have a better communication with MCPS. We should be dealing with them from the very first moment in getting that information. We have so many new people and new roles that now is the time, after this experience, to make sure this never happens again. Let's make those relationships so that it's seamless. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Next person is Will Jondo.
Yeah, I'm just going to say we've never done 3 minutes. I think it's too quick. We should do a minimum of 5. That's fine. I'm using my 3 minutes. Don't take it from that. So it's just a bad practice for something this serious. First, I want to thank all the county employees for what they've done. It's super freezing. I've spoken with many. Extremely long shifts. You worked hard. I'm sensitive to your point. I don't want anyone to take any of this that we don't appreciate what you've done, the contractors as well. We owe our residents honesty about what went wrong. I think we're hearing that today. My office personally, we heard from over 150 folks. We created our own special tracker to share with DOT to help work back and forth. I think we might think about something council-wide on that. I think it was an innovation that could be helpful, and we're probably all hearing from similar people. We had a town hall last night with over 400 people participating, over 200 written comments. People are frustrated, they're upset, but they're forgiving if they know that there's a plan and a commitment to do better. One homeowner had to pay $5,000 out of pocket to clear what plows left behind. We have to figure out a better communication system for sure, but also part of that communication has to be what you're responsible for and what the county's responsible for. I think there's still a lot of confusion in the public around that. And we, most importantly, need a plan for vulnerable residents during these emergencies. For seniors, for people with disabilities. Of the 150 people we talked to, probably 100 of them were in the senior disability community. There's programs in Prince George's County, other parts of the country that got oversubscribed, but we have to have a formal role in that. There's just too many people, especially as we age. As a parent of MCPS students in the chair of the Education Culture Committee, I trust me, I wanted the schools open sooner, but I mostly wanted them open in a safe way. And with 1 in 5 of our kids walking, with the side where 3 of my kids take the bus, I didn't want them standing next to those snow piles. We have to have better communication to keep people safe, but also get them back. I think virtual learning has to be a part of that conversation. We'll take some of those issues up in ENC if there are extended periods, but I think more coordination there. And then the other bucket is coordination, which I'm sure you'll hear from others. Where does the state's role begin? Where does the county's role in, and how do we work on streets that intersect where there's big piles of snow at a state and county road? Whose responsibility is it to do what, to clear those pathways, those sidewalks? Part of the coordination is bus stops, MCPS road stops, making sure that we are prioritizing some of those pathways. I think could be something. That was another thing we heard a lot was, well, who gets prioritized with what? And this will be where I end. Transparency with the residents about why we're going where and how they can track it, I think is critical. And so we need to build better systems of transparency as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sidney Katz.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and thank you all for everything that you do, and for all those who actually did the work in the fields as well or in the streets. You know, this is perhaps the worst snowstorm I've ever seen, and that, you know, and I pushed snow for my own driveway twice. Thought I was doing just fine on Sunday, and then that ice came in, and my snowblower wouldn't do anything. And of course, misery loves company. We all know that. But we need to try our best not to have this misery again. And obviously, you all are working on that. I always say we do not remove snow. We move snow except where you haul it, which is not everywhere, that's for sure. And yes, we have many things to discuss and how we can do them better. But communication has been mentioned is really, with correct information, is a problem that we need to be certainly solving. Saying all roads were plowed when they weren't certainly becomes frustrating. We did hear that some who called 311, and they did a pretty good job in general, but some who called 311 were told that that they didn't handle this complaint. If you had an emergency, call 911. That's not the answer. The answer is yes, you need to be handling complaints. Years ago, I was on went to a snow rodeo, and the city manager drove the plow, and I drove the little plow itself, the blades themselves. It was a sunny day where they had snow. They had little cones out. I had every cone, every ball, and it was a sunny day. I mean, how these people can do this kind of work when it's not a sunny day is just amazing, and at night, and ice, and others. The problem with the sidewalks, and the Vice President talked on this, but here someone clears a sidewalk. It was not easy. Clear their sidewalk. There's no grass strip in some cases. And the snowplow comes and puts the snow back on, and then somebody says, you didn't clear your sidewalk. Well, you cleared the one from the heavens, and so we need to have a better system on that as well. For the resources, everybody needs the same equipment at the same time during the same emergency. But we need to discuss with the states, the municipalities, the MCPS, private contractors who do HOA streets. We need to coordinate with them if there's extra equipment that we could be using during that time. And we need to, once again, do a better job. But we certainly do not want it to be lost, that we sincerely appreciate all the work that all of our people did in to make their jobs, and if we need to be investing in something to make their jobs more efficient, easier, and quicker, and I finished up on time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Katz. Councilmember Evan Glass.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to start by thanking everybody, much as the executive team has done, our bus drivers, our snowplow operators, first responders, utility, frontline crews, and so many others that kept our community functioning to the best of its ability. That was the reality. But at the same time, it is incredibly important that we recognize the deep frustration that our residents faced. We were all frustrated, and I was frustrated, and we handle a lot of issues here in Rockville. A plethora of things that we tackle every single day, but snow removal is a core function of local government, full stop. That's why we're having this discussion. And over the last week, I've received hundreds of emails, and I do want to use a second to give a shout out to Chris House-Smith on my team for fielding all of that, making sure that people knew that we were still operating and put people in touch with the Department of Transportation, with the Parks Department, recognizing that we were still working for them. And what added to everyone's frustration was the online system showing 100% snow plowed that wasn't operating properly. That has been noticed. But I want to fast forward to this morning. School returned, and neighbors of mine shared with me a video from the Flower Avenue apartments where 50 school children were hoisted by neighbors over an ice barricade so that they could get on the school bus. And that happened this morning. And so I want to thank the neighbors who stepped up to help the kids. That's the kind of coordination that has been resulting, and we do need better coordination between MCPS and DOT and all of our partners. And my question is, in 2021, I passed the Shovel Our Sidewalks Act, recognizing the last major snowstorm that we had, there were too many people who could not walk to the bus stop, who could not roll down the street, and were literally stopped in their tracks because they're transit dependent and they live in equity emphasis areas, and some of them are lower income. And a constant theme that we've been hearing is there are still people who had to get to work, who had no other options, and we want to ensure their safety first and foremost. And so my question is, how was this law enacted, or how was it implemented, given all of the challenges that are existing, but given the time constraints, the resource constraints, recognizing not everybody was able to stay safely in their home. Some still had to go out and venture the streets. How did we help them?
Yep. Thank you for the question. So the sidewalk snow clearing is an integral part of the DOT operation. So when we move off that emergency response and primary function, the sidewalk snow clearing comes next, because those are generally on the arterial streets that are part of that first phase. We did dutifully go out and shovel those sidewalks, the ones that are required in the law, and the ones that don't have clear ownership that were sort of in place before the additional state highway, mostly ones, were put in place. There are some locations that we held off on shoveling that because the State Highway Administration had not yet cleared the road, and the same frustration all of our residents face, right? We moved to clear those when it became evident that that time sequence just wasn't going to work out. We couldn't wait for them to clear that lane, so we went and cleared those sidewalks earlier this week. In terms of bus stops, we had a much bigger emphasis on bus stop clearing in this storm than we had in 2016, the last major storm. We cleared bus stops as part of our sidewalk clearing effort to the maximum extent we can. Our transit division has inches of accumulation-based thresholds on which they increase the number of bus stops that they clear. They did the maximum number, which I believe was over 1,000 in this storm. They haven't quite got all 1,000 done, but they've got most of them done. And I really want to thank our colleagues at WMATA. They were generous enough over the weekend to offer to come to Montgomery County and help us clear some bus stops in the county, and we took advantage of that, and they cleared about 100 bus stops with our crews yesterday. So that has become an embedded and important part of the overall snow removal operation, not just the street clearing itself.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you. Councilmember Andrew Fitzen.
Thank you. First of all, I share in the appreciation that was expressed here, and thanks to all of our hardworking county employees who worked around the clock in extremely difficult conditions during and after the storm. Thank you. The failure of the county's response is overwhelmingly not on our public servants who were doing their job. It was a challenging storm, significant one, but the forecasts were pretty much spot on. We knew this was coming. And the coordination within county government and with outside agencies, communication systems failures, and a lack of adequate preparations fell short of resident expectations. I appreciate everybody being here to talk about that, because I think we all know that our residents deserve better. I just want to provide a quote of a reaction. I'll quote, both 311 and the snow map were an issue in the last big storm. And I thought we were going to fix particularly the snow map after the last big storm. So I was disturbed to get phone calls from the very same people who said we had problems, end quote. And then I'll quote again. And on the 311 issue, I'll say this to you, this is an epic fail in some ways, end quote. This wasn't from the past week. That was Mark Elrich in 2016, nearly a decade ago. So these challenges are not new, and they weren't resolved in over a decade. This storm exposed them, and our families, students, and most vulnerable residents face the consequences. So in light of their understandable frustration, we aggregated questions and concerns from residents, and given the time constraints today, I sent a very detailed and comprehensive letter of those questions to the county executive earlier and hope that each will receive a detailed and comprehensive response, understanding that it is a long list of very substantive questions. So I'll just ask a couple questions here while I have time remaining. Once it became clear that storm response efforts were failing and public confusion was widespread, what corrective actions were taken by the county executive and executive branch leadership to adapt? That's question one. And then question two is, what coordination occurred with MCPS, state, municipal, and parks department leadership before, after, and during the storm, specifically, including anything that happened formally before that late 2/13 Sunday afternoon request from MCPS that you noted?
So as soon as we learned that the snow tracker was not working, Chris and I were in regular consultation. I mean, you should see the updates that come out through OMHS, through DOT, the reports that are coming to all of us on a regular basis, providing updates on a consistently every 3 hours. We were getting an update about what was happening around the county. As soon as the tracker identified problems, they took action to take it down. They thought they fixed it. And then when it wasn't working, we were like, all right, we just need to take it down because it's not helping the situation. But by that time, we had been through the first pass and decided to move to then the response, the 311 response system. If you want to talk about the communication part.
Exactly.
The
And
coordination part.
in terms of communication with other agencies, we met in the fall with Adnan and his team, set up communication protocols between our Highway Services Division and MCPS. We were in contact with Adnan and his team 7 or 8 times over the course of the cleanup between the stop of snow and today. Around Thursday, as Director Dyes mentioned, we also released resources that we could still be using, but we knew that school actions were a higher priority at that point. We released resources for MCPS, and we coordinated over the weekend to understand what those critical issues that might affect school opening were. School opening conditions at MCPS's judgment weren't where they needed to be for Monday. We got an additional set of issues to address. I personally took the opportunity both Sunday and Monday to reach out to my colleagues at the State Highway Administration, who deployed additional resources from other districts to District 3 to work on those priority areas. You'll note there's still lots of issues on state highways that haven't been addressed, but they took that list, prioritized those items, cleared those items, did the same with the city of Rockville, the city of Gaithersburg, the city of Tacoma Park. Mr. Madaleno reached out to other colleagues in the villages and towns in the Chevy Chase area, and we dispatched the regional service centers and Office of Community Partnerships to contact large private owners that were identified in this list as having issues that needed to be resolved. So there was a lot of interaction. Every one of those agencies was strained, dealing with the same issues the schools was dealing with and we were dealing with. I've got to say, I've never seen that group of people come together to respond to the desire to get schools open like they did in this event. Not in the time frame anybody would have wanted necessarily, but the commitment was real, the responses were real, and the actions were taken by all of those agencies to meet those needs. So all slower than everybody would want, but it was effective in the end to get schools open today.
Thank you. Councilmember Keith Stewart.
Thank you. as my colleagues, I don't want to repeat what was said already, but I do want to say thank you to the staff, everybody who was out there and worked really, really hard during the storm. One request, I did see all the questions that Councilmember Friedson forwarded, and I would say I think we all agree there's a lot of overlap from what we're having, what we're hearing. So I'd ask that those questions not only be shared with all of us, but shared with the public, because I think it'll go a long way through transparency and understanding why we got here today. So the big buckets for me, as we've all said here, is communication and sharing that communication with the entire council. As Council Vice President Balcom said, we can get to our residents. Many of us translate our newsletters and other things into multiple languages. We can repeat is the 101 in communications. And so please help us with those tools to do that. Wednesday, as Director Conklin said, was a really, really tough day for a lot of people. Councilmember Jawando specifically talked about those of our residents who are in vulnerable positions. I do want to say thank you to Director Conklin. While I was on the phone with a woman who was undergoing cancer treatment, I know you were on the phone with her husband, trying to get her out because she had already canceled one treatment. And so I just want to say thank you for that. My questions are about prioritization and equity. Pretty much everyone here has talked about prioritization, and maybe today we don't have the time to get into it, but I'd really like to know how we're doing that prioritization. Director Dice, you talked about prioritizing county facilities. We talked about prioritizing certain roads, prioritizing different bus stops. But who's making those decisions and how are we prioritizing? Because I know there are parts of my community, I mean, those are the people I hear from, but the Rolling Terrace Elementary School area had, from what I heard from residents and experienced myself when I went out there, had not seen a plow till later in the week. And I know there may be other areas too, but I think we need to really look at how we're prioritizing, and we probably don't have time in my 54 seconds to do that. School bus stops, thank you for the question on coordination. One question I have is whether or not our county actually knows where all the school bus stops are while you're doing the plowing. Is that something that's overlaid? For our parks folks and regarding trails, really understand you can't clear all the trails, but this is one thing that I very much have appreciated your office and really thinking about in our communities where our trails are our sidewalks and our connectors, like in the Rolling Terrace area. If we can think about for future events, are there areas that we do need to be clearing because they do act like sidewalks? They are connectors. And so I think my time is up. Thank you. Well, somebody can answer a question about, do you know where the school bus stops are?
So the individual plow operators probably do not. That's an issue that we can take up and see how that can be known. There are many, many of them, and as Mr. Katz indicated, that work is intense, continuous, and the people are tired who are doing it. So that's a detail that I'm not sure we'll be able to effectively translate to that operation, but we can maybe think of other ways to address those post-operation.
For sure, once we are done with the snow and you work on that report, we need to come back here and go through that report and answer many of these questions so we can be ready for next year. Okay. So now, Councilmember Don Lukey.
Thank you, Madam President. Look, I am incredibly sympathetic to the level of all hands on deckness that had to occur to manage this, and also, you know, and thank you to Councilmember Glass for pointing out the sidewalk shoveling legislation that he did. And yet we had folks who didn't move their cars. We have folks who didn't move their, shovel their sidewalks, and now they're blocked, right? Everything's blocked. And so things don't work well when there's not compliance with stuff that we all need to do. And I'm saying that having spent a fair amount of time shoveling snow on Monday because I had a surgery on Tuesday and I needed to get out of my house in order to make sure I could make it for my operation. But I'm sitting here listening to all the things that have been said, and I'm thinking about other school districts that probably deal with this on a more frequent basis than we do, like the Toronto Unified School District, which has 600 schools and about 100,000 more students than us. I know it's less miles, but Toronto also has the world's busiest highway running through it, right? So it's no joke. Buffalo, Boston, New York City, and maybe we look at them to see what we could do better in terms of coordinating with our public transit, our school transit, our sidewalks, et cetera, in order to make sure that that's working better. I wanted to note and ask, I guess, there was commentary that led me to go, hey, red flag. One of the things you all need to audit is if the contractors were being shared by State Highway, Department of General Services, and MCPS, were they billing each entity at the same time for the same work? Because I'd want to know that. Then, look through it and tell me no for certain after you've looked at all the bills, right? People want to know. And also, to Councilmember Friedson's point about the comments that were made by the county executive in 2016, was an after action report done then? If so, could you all resurface it and send it to us? I'd love to read it and see what was supposed to have been addressed based on what came out of that after action exercise, and then what we're still not having had addressed successfully 10 years later. My final question is, who had charge of incident command for this storm within county government? Can somebody answer that, please? Okay.
Luke Hodgson, as our emergency manager, has that overall coordination.
Right. So, and I appreciate Director Hodgson and all that he does. I also know he didn't get to come up here and talk to everybody.
We were trying to be respectful of your time.
Understood, but I would love to, I'm assuming because Director Hodgson had control of this as incident commander, then he would be directing the after action on this. And my one question is, Director Hodgson, do you believe this was a success, or do you believe we have things that need to be improved upon based on this incident as it stands now?
Oh, I guess he's going over there. Oh, he's got a chair.
Good afternoon. I think this was a particularly challenging situation. I think there was a mismatch in the expectations amongst the public and what can realistically be done. That said, I think we've all acknowledged that there are things we could have absolutely done better. We have a list of those already. You all have further contributed to those. The public continues to contribute to those. So the short answer to your question is absolutely we can do better. Every one of these events we can do better.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lorian Sells.
Thank you. I remember looking at the news and speaking with Dr. Bridgers about what notices were going to be shared in advance of the snowstorm, because I was traveling. And he said, well, the county executive will be hosting a press conference tomorrow. And I'm like, but where's the information? Why isn't anything on social media? Where are people supposed to go? What are they going to do? And I just feel like we were underprepared for this storm. And I heard many reports about the impact that this storm was going to have on our region for days leading up to it. And I feel like we were underprepared. And so just thinking about what we have experienced, whether it's the communication breakdown, the supplies, the technology, what sort of snow plows we need to have to break down the ice and the snow, the amount of salt that we are using across. I remember I was driving back from New York and saw, the roads were salted. So I don't know if, they did a first pass, but I don't know how often these plows went through the communities or went through the main roads, or as my colleague said, how you prioritized which roads to go through. So I just want to understand what sort of communication did you all plan to have throughout the snowstorm? How did you deploy the trucks to where? How often were they supposed to make pass-throughs through the different communities? And at the end of the day, what lessons have we identified from this event that can inform our FY27 budget priorities? What steps will be taken to improve interagency coordination and resource allocation for future severe weather events? Why didn't MCPS have a contingency plan in place to have online learning? So those are just a few of the concerns, and what prior assessments were taken to assess the potential risk? Did we make sure that we had enough equipment on the road? Were staffing challenges part of the problem? So I just think there were, we appreciate each and every one of you. We celebrate our department heads, and we know you all do a good job. This just should not have come as a surprise. And to see the snow embanked in so many parts of the community still over a week after, it's truly disappointing, and it's unsafe. So I'll stop there.
Any reactions from anyone?
I could give a little bit of discussion about the preparation communication plan within DOT. This storm followed the pattern that most storms that strike our area follow. It was, as you heard at the beginning of this, much more severe. Our communication plan is consistent across those storms. In this case, we had snow emergency briefings twice before the storm with the county executive. During the storm event, our reporting was as it always is, with periodic Storm Operations Center reporting that I think many of you, or I think all of you, your offices receive. That continued throughout the storm. We did everything we could to inform the public of our status. The issue with the reporting of the closed tickets and the completed streets was a software to software issue. It was not related to the communications plan or strategy. It was an unfortunate direct computer to the public communication. And that's what I said, we need to reinsert a human into that process to assess whether the computer report is matching reality. And we've continued to do that reporting and communication through the weekend and today to keep everybody apprised of what our activities are. So that component of it was relatively strong. And in terms of resources, staff, materials, equipment, we had no issues that really hampered the effort in any of those areas. It was slow based on the conditions, based on the type of material we're moving, that some of our equipment can't do it, so we have a slightly smaller fleet of equipment to do that work. This stuff happens very rarely, so if you were to equip for this event, that equipment might not get used before you retire it, and would have to be maintained for years without use for that purpose. County executive asked that exact same question. We said we would look at what equipment could serve multiple functions that we might acquire that we could also use in these events, and that's something that we'll include in the after-action study. So thank you for those questions.
And in fact, one of the things that we have found with contractors, and I think Mr. Dice and I have spoken about this on a few occasions, some of the contractors that we used to deal with got out of the business because we've had several winters of really no snow.
Severe.
So they retired their equipment, they moved on as they replaced stuff. And so we're constantly trying to figure out, new partners to work with as they were making quite understandable business decisions about where to invest time and money.
That makes sense.
And everything you asked are things that will go into an after-action report for all of you. And of course, we will be back with you all for the after-action report, mindful of the fact that we're still in the same pay period. The pay period started Sunday, so we haven't even been able to assess overtime since people haven't even filed their time cards for this 2-week period.
Understood. Thank you. Next, Councilmember Menk.
Thank you. First, there is one thing that I do want to repeat that I think we all have said and it is important to say, which is expressing appreciation for all of the employees who have been out working hard day and night, and we have systems issues to address, but that is not the fault of individual folks who were out doing the very, very best they could around the clock, and we appreciate that so much. And I also want to give a shout out to members of my team, David Hondowitz, who has also been working practically around the clock to try to make sure everybody is getting a response and that we're in communication with all of you up here. And also a shout out to my husband, who has also been doing a lot of shoveling, including shoveling out my shoveling out one of our streets so that a kid could get to the hospital for what turned out to be an emergency surgery. It is times like this when we do see communities come together. And it is also times like this that tease up, as you all have said, the important systemic changes that we maybe did not realize were so pressing, but the time is now. The presentations, I think, really did correctly identify many of the issues that we've been seeing crop up in the many hundreds of emails and communications that we have been getting. So that's good to see, and I look forward to the update that we're going to be getting on those questions. I did want to mention two of them. One is specifically the issue with the fact that the sidewalks get recovered when we plow, that raises concerns from residents who are concerned that they're going to be fined. And maybe they've put hours into clearing a sidewalk, and then a county or a state plow comes by and covers that sidewalk up again, and they just don't have it in them to do that again. And so how should we think about that? How should we deal with that situation? And I also want to come back to the school bus stop issue, and I hear that we have a 2-hour delay just announced for tomorrow as well. So on the school, safety is the number one priority. Also, we need our kids to be able to learn, and I know that's what we're here talking about. This morning, as one example, kids who walked to Blair, and I'll note this one because we saw this on the bus tour for the University Boulevard Corridor Plan, right? They have to cross University Boulevard twice, right? The east side and the west side, and there's a little island in the middle, and that sidewalk was not cleared as of this morning. So you have kids then who are being forced to either climb up and onto the iceberg, right, or walking on University Boulevard. And so I was a little nervous in the response to Councilmember Stewart's question about whether and how we're incorporating school bus stops, and I'll add on the walking routes to school as well. That logistically, yes, that is going to be difficult, but I would say a worthwhile thing to figure out as you use this moment as a time to figure out how we're going to cross coordinate, how we're going to make sure that we are allocating across all of the different areas, to please try to figure out how we can include the bus stops and routes to school, because that really is what determines how so much of our county is able to move forward the next morning.
Any reactions, especially from the school?
So as far as coordinating the question, or are you talking about the delay for tomorrow, Jim? Just trying to.
Well, if you want to break some news with a reaction about the 2-hour delay, you're welcome to. My systemic question is, do you all think that there is a path forward to incorporating the prioritization specifically of school bus stops and routes to school? And I don't know how you've been thinking about that in the kind of, amidst the craziness that we're the whack-a-mole that we've been trying to do, but what are your thoughts on that for moving forward?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question, and I think one of the things that we are also capturing in this is what we are seeing out on the streets with all of our drivers that are driving right now, as well as having trouble picking up the kids. So we're trying to gather all that information, and we've been sharing information with MCDOT. So we'll continue to do that, and I think that gives us an opportunity to kind of maybe identify some of the problem spots that we're seeing, and it's gonna, assuming that it's gonna continue to, be an issue in the future. So that would allow us to create those certain areas that we can then, have that shared list with the MCDOT, where we will be observing. Obviously, we'll be the eyes and ears, our bus drivers, as they're picking up. But obviously, that list, if it's already created, then it will allow MCDOT to prioritize those locations as well.
I know, just like Councilmember Stewart brought up, I believe the Flower Avenue apartments. I know in other. Oh, I'm sorry. But in other, yeah, okay. But in other contexts, some of the information that we've gotten from the school system are things like this apartment complex, getting the bus through the apartment complex. Again, not our road, but of course we have people, whether it's the regional directors, DHCA, where we can get people to contact that property owner or that manager and say, hey, do you realize here's the problem? The bus can't get through. What can we do to clear it? And so we are putting out people and trying to use all of our connections to address those issues as they come to our attention.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have, as I said at the beginning, we can have a few more minutes for the second round. If people have questions, something else, Council Vice President Marilyn Balcom.
So just a lot's been said. A couple things about the bus stops is for MCPS. At what point did you start thinking that you needed to clear the bus stops? Because I get that you asked the county on Sunday for help, but at what point why weren't you doing bus stops on Monday or Tuesday after the storm? That's my one question. And the other point is, the snow tracker being down. Again, I just want to reiterate, communicating to us. We have a great relationship with fire and police. Anytime anything happens in our district, we get communication right away. Our comms team you wouldn't be responsible for reaching all of us. Our comms team can do that. But we just need that information because we're still putting out the message to go on the tracker. So I think those are the two things that I wanted to bring up. But the MCPS, at what point did you prioritize the clearing the bus stops and the safe routes to schools, the walk shed for the schools?
Yeah, and thanks for the question. So basically, we had our drivers, trying to go out for transportation as it was safely, they were able to do, and we were kind of focusing on making sure our buses could go through, and those are the lists we started gathering and sharing, and obviously, we were, because of the massive number of bus stops, we were not able to basically identify individual stops with their issues till we actually started, running the routes, to be honest with you, because each bus, we have 1,200 and plus buses, and they run routes throughout the county, and they have, stops at many places. So as we are, running the routes, that's the only way we can identify each one of those places where there's going to be an issue, and that's what we are collecting now. And that's not, that was something that, again, we had our drivers out there checking all the roads, checking all the conditions where buses could pass, but to be able to individually say, that this is a problem spot for each individual bus stop was something that before we ran in operations, we could not pinpoint every single one of them.
So I appreciate that the bus has to get through, but it doesn't matter if the bus gets through if the kids can't get on the bus. So I think that looking at your priorities in terms of how to prioritize, the two go hand in hand. I mean, the kids got to get on the bus. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember
And
Stewart.
we've been trying so hard to also think through what are other communications tools. Should we work, because MCPS has quite the network of communications through listservs of every school. Should we reiterate parking policies, sidewalk policies, things that aren't school issues that typically they don't, but maybe we should next time make sure that everyone knows this is the day you park on the even side of the street. This is the simple messages that can be reiterated through as many channels as possible, because while we might be putting it out on all of our county government social media, it only has so much of a reach. Having it be hit, if your mailbox is hit by 10 messages saying park on the even side of the street, for example, that's no harm to reiterate that. So I think, we are already thinking through ways that we can improve.
Yeah, that's part of the coordination that I asked and look forward to that. We only have a few more minutes. Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you. I just want to piggyback on what the Council Vice President was saying. And the coordination between MCPS and the Safe Routes to School and the Department of Transportation is something this body, this council has talked about a great deal. We had a joint T&E session and education and culture session, 2.5 years ago. And I know there's been some improvements in some areas, but we need to step it up. Just quite frankly. And because I'm going to say MCPS putting out something on Sunday night to say Monday school was closed and to blame the county because the sidewalks weren't cleared is not coordination and is not working together, because we got blasted by constituents who were like, the sidewalks aren't clear, that's your responsibility, and take responsibility for it. we have very angry constituents who are like, take responsibility. And so I think when we're doing this, it is about partnership and coordination and understanding. But for MCPS to put out that message on a Sunday when Department of Transportation, even if there was coordination before that, but didn't get pages of where to shovel and everything and help you until 2:13 on Sunday, and then for you all to put out that message, I think it's hard for us. So we need much better coordination on our safe routes to school between MCPS and DOT. The other thing I didn't get a chance to mention before on the food distribution, I'm glad you had 9 food distributions. None of them were accessible to my residents in my district. And I talked to the superintendent about that. And like, as we're talking again, for everyone here, prioritization and equity, we need to take a hard look at how we're prioritizing these issues, because we have residents who are in very vulnerable positions. And so I just said, you're up here. I think this is part of the coordination plan, because I think on Wednesday, I was scrambling to figure out, okay, who do I call for the woman who needs the IV changed and her home health care person can't get in? You know, who do we call for this? I appreciate your quick response, Mr. Hartman Espada, who I see back there. Everybody jumped on it, but it's hard in the moment. And when we know something like this is going to happen, we need to be planning ahead of time. So just wanted to raise those extra points. Thank you.
Yeah, may I just respond to that just for one moment, please, because I think this is critically important for the public to understand. That when you have a medical emergency and when you cannot go to dialysis or you cannot go to one of your medical treatments or you need to otherwise go see your doctor, that is a medical emergency. If you cannot get out, that is a medical emergency. You need to call 911. In any one of these situations, whether it be weather that's keeping you at home or whatever it is, we want to get you where you need to go as soon as you need to get there. So please call 911. Don't hesitate for that. We will come out there and get you, and we will bring the right apparatus to get to your house and make sure you safely get out. So I realize we have to do that on the fly several times, but I want that message to carry over, not just with this event, but with any time that people feel stranded or otherwise cannot get to their medical appointments. They need to utilize 911. That's what we're here for.
Gotta move forward because we have another committee work session soon. Councilmember Will Jawondo.
Thank you. Appreciate that point. It's an important one. Capacity. What don't we have enough of? You mentioned, Mr. Madaleno, the contractor issue, and Mr. Anand, you mentioned and I heard this earlier in the week, that you guys are getting contractors, and then the county called them in, and you couldn't use them, and so we had shared lists, and so you had less people. So what equipment is part of the after action, but I'd love an answer right now. Equipment, people, contractors, what do we not have enough of, or do we not have enough? I think we don't, but I want to ask your professional opinion.
It all revolves around what your planning event is. So this was the one that
just happened.
In what time frame do you want to be clear? And how much of the sidewalk network or other things do you want to have clear? Because I appreciate the whole discussion of the sidewalks and bus stops. Currently, those are property owner responsibilities. That's a very unsatisfactory answer in this storm. Everybody knows that, but that's what it is. In this storm,
you don't have responsibility for sidewalks and bus stops under current law.
Currently,
that's so those correct. Not being done in the case of kids getting. So what is that? But you understand the unsatisfactory nature of that answer.
I absolutely understand it. And in this storm, we cleared a lot of areas around schools that we don't have that authority to do, but we did. So if you wanted to have everything open in a storm like this after, say, 2 days, you would need 3 times the resources that we have. If you look at a storm that's half this intensity, it probably would have been cleared in 2 days. Now, whether those resources are available is another question. We had this long discussion when Councilmember Glass did the sidewalk clearing bill. What was the reasonable expectation of availability of resources to be able to satisfy the requirements of the law? So we would have to go through that exercise to understand what the desired service delivery is, under what conditions and what time frame, to figure out what resources they are. Yeah. Every resource we had available was available and we deployed them to the maximum
Well, I think
extent.
part
in
of
this
the
condition.
part of the after action is what with additional technology, vehicles,
Yeah.
people. What could we do? Like I think we need to we need to be clear on what we currently can do and how quickly can we respond based on X, Y, Z of storm. You know, small, medium, large.
Yeah.
You know, and then we need to have a conversation about well, what do we need given the weather update of things, that direction we're probably heading in. We're going to get more, not less of these going forward. So.
Councilmember Jomono, I know we're at time, so I won't go too long, but our workforce is geared towards an event like we might have tonight, which is
Right.
nothing to a couple inches, and can we get it addressed for schools to open with a delayed opening? That's our baseline that we have in place. Now, I think this storm was on the threshold of on the threshold of but probably not passed. Was there a need for external resources like were delivered in 2016 when the storm was a little bit more intense, a little bit more impactful, and state and other resources were deployed that aren't typical Maryland State Highway or other resources, but National Guard or other state emergency response resources. This was close to that threshold, maybe not over, but for those larger events, you probably aren't going to have all the capabilities in-house.
Thank you.
And we are creative.
Councilmember Andrew Friedson. Sorry, I had to move forward.
Thank you. I just want to hone in. People have kind of touched on this, but it was said earlier by you, Mr. Madaleno, that you didn't receive any communication from MCPS until 2:13 on Sunday afternoon, which was a week and a day after the storm. It was said by Director Conklin that there was ongoing communications and conversations. It's not disputing what you said. I'm just trying to understand, what does that mean? You know, what were the 7 to 8 communications that Director Conklin noted with MCPS? What were you being told? What were you being asked to do? What was being requested specifically? And what specifically were the protocols that were put in place based on a joint understanding, and under what circumstances? Was it an MOU? Is it some other type of agreement? Is it a spit on your hand and make a handshake and everybody kind of understands what's going to happen and who's responsible for carrying it out? Because this has been the core question on coordination, and we've heard a lot of different things, but I don't think we've honed in on the actual answer to who's responsible for what happened, who talked to whom, and how was it undertaken. So if you could answer that, that would be helpful.
So I'll let Mr. Madaleno speak to his part of the communication. The 7 to 8 interactions between Adnan's team and ours were messages from us saying, what do you need to respond? And then asking for specific needs, which MCPS delivered to us on Sunday. So that happened at multiple
Okay, so 7 to 8 times. I just want to get to the bottom
Highway
of this.
Services and MCPS
7 to 8
operations.
times. On what you're saying is 7 to 8 times
Yes.
the Montgomery County Department of Transportation
Yes.
sought from MCPS what
Yes.
they needed in order to get schools open.
Yes.
And
so-
it wasn't until Sunday at 2:13 p.m. that a formal request came over of what exactly was needed.
There were some other issues that were identified in those other communications that we responded to, but a longer list of issues that had been identified through the route testing and other activities that MCPS did was delivered to us on Sunday.
And based on the protocols that were put in place in the fall that you told us, what was supposed to happen? Because I can't imagine that the protocol suggested not responding until 8 days after a storm requesting help.
The protocol is to have an open line of communications and to communicate needs and resources to each other. There's nothing beyond that.
Okay, to me, that doesn't sound like a protocol, just to be totally clear.
We did
It seems like a
reinforce-
general understanding, which to me is inadequate.
I met with the superintendent, and we agreed that we would establish those lines of communication and use those, but there is no written agreement to back that up.
Okay, well, all evidence to the contrary that was followed through upon, the spirit, if not the letter of that agreement. And I would strongly urge there to be a written MOU between Montgomery County government, Department of Transportation, wherever within county government it should be, and MCPS that specifically delineates what will be done and how it will be achieved on communication and on execution. Because clearly this is an area that fell short and it was just a breakdown. And that breakdown is part of what, has, led us to the, arms in either direction and the public understandably being extremely frustrated because it feels like no one's taking responsibility and accountability for what happened and why students weren't in school for 8 days.
Thank you. Does the school want to share any remarks after that questioning? Because I think that's one of the main questions here. Why waited so long until Sunday?
Yeah, so we wanted to, again, we wanted to make sure that all the, we were focusing on clearing up our schools first. And then as we noticed issues with the roads, and we were, anything that we noticed that would be difficult for the buses, as it was safe for our drivers to start traveling, the transportation drivers to start traveling on the routes and seeing all those, we started gathering the intel and we shared with our partners. But we, again, our initial focus was to make sure our facilities were ready. So we worked on that, making sure that, those were done. And then we, obviously, again, had to focus on continuing our work with the sidewalks because as everybody mentioned that, as it was cleared, it was, again, got covered in snow again. So we focused on that. And then as we were able to send out our drivers to get to these, the locations, we started gathering the intel and shared with the county.
Thank you. Councilmember Menk.
Just wanted to agree with as I know that we've plans for you all to come together and figure out what you're going to do systemically to work together and coordinate, taking into account the school bus stops and sidewalks and safe routes to school, et cetera. And I appreciate that and look forward to hearing that. And also wanted to agree with what Councilmember Stewart said about the food distribution sites for my Down County residents. Also, this was an issue. I was also reaching out to MCPS, and it was not clear to me if the issue was school MCPS or DOT or private sidewalks that are technically the responsibility of the homeowner, but really they're the issue of the public at large. And what are we doing about that? So if you could please do include the school distribution sites and making sure we have equitable access to those in part of the overhaul that you all are going to be looking at putting together. And then to lift up a question that I am now being flooded with, if you could please explain the purpose of a 2-hour delay tomorrow. Does that have to do with temperatures in the morning? Does it have to do with that we can't get those sidewalks clear enough, but 2 hours is going to make all of the difference in the, what is the benefit there?
Yeah, so there is a predicted event tonight into tomorrow morning. So we just wanted to make sure we're going to be, meeting this evening as well as really early tomorrow morning just to see what this upcoming storm is going to bring us, just so that it gives our folks enough time if there is any additional clearing needed, both on our sides and at the school sites as well as the sidewalks, and giving students enough time. There are a lot of student drivers as well, and there will be a lot of walkers tomorrow morning. So we just wanted to make sure that we are aware of the actual situation on the ground.
And the 2-hour delay this morning was for the same question for the 2-hour delay that we had this morning.
Yeah, so the same answer. We just wanted to make sure, again, we do have a lot of student drivers, and again, wanted to give our bus drivers enough time to get to all the routes, understanding that there's going to be some challenges with picking up students at a lot of these bus stops. We wanted to give our buses enough time and enough daylight hours because of the refreezing that has happened over since last night. We wanted to give that extra time to get our schools prepared.
Okay. And the frustration, of course, is because we open 2 hours later and then we still have kids climbing over icebergs and stuff, 2 hours later. I yield.
I had to say this as a parent. I understand that you need to be mindful of the drivers, but you also have to be mindful of the parents who need to now, reschedule their entire work life because there's another 2-hour delay going on. So I think that's missing. And I look forward to all of you to come back. We need to, figure out the time once you have all that information and truly think about how we can do better. And this is not criticism about the workers, the people who are out there for many hours, and we truly appreciate them. But as a county, we have a responsibility to work and do better. And not just for the workers, but for the families that we're serving. With that, Just a reminder that we have a Go HHS EC committee work session today at 3:15. You have 5 minutes to get ready. And with that, this council session is adjourned. Thank you for your time.